Hi everyone, welcome to this processing tutorial in Lightroom and Photoshop. Today I'm going to be processing a woodland image I shot a couple of days ago from this raw file to something like this. We'll get close enough to it. I find it very difficult to get the exact same edit over and over again, and if I'm just going to critique this a small bit, I want to keep this area here a bit darker, just so the eye isn't drawn to these trees in the background. I want the eye drawn to these ones here in my foreground, okay? And it gives us nice depth. See the way the trees are staggered? It gives nice depth to the image, and we've got some nice light filtering through as well from the side. It was shot around 4 in the evening, so the light was just kind of getting a small bit softer. It was a bit harsh, but I was able to work with it, okay? And this post-processing tutorial is going to deal with primarily the HSL sliders in Lightroom. When we go into Photoshop, we'll be doing curves adjustments, layers, masks, and a bit of Orton Effect and color balance, okay? So hopefully you'll learn a thing or two here, and without further ado, we'll get on with it. I'll try and keep this under the 20 minutes. Okay, so here is our woodland image. I'm very lucky to live near this woodland within my 2-kilometer radius during these difficult times, and now it's a planted woodland, so it's a managed forest, obviously, for timber production. So you have a lot of these spruce trees, just these kind of long cylindrical spruce trees, but nonetheless it's a great place to have on my doorstep. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a crop. I'm going to create a 16:9 crop, and I'm just going to unlock the aspect ratio here just to do my own kind of custom crop on it. Just want to include a small bit more of the scene than the 16:9 naturally would. Okay, so there's our crop done. It's looking a bit better. I've framed it now a bit nicer. The white balance is next, so it's a bit too cool for my liking, so I'm going to warm it up just to create that more kind of a golden effect, that illusion that we're heading into the golden hour, which we were, but it was still about a half an hour off or an hour off of golden hour itself. I'm reducing my highlights because I don't want to overexpose these areas here on the ground, as you can see. So I reduced the highlights there. Now next I'm going to go down to my HSL sliders, and I like to kind of create the effect of an autumn kind of a colour. So I'm going to take my greens back towards the yellows a bit, okay? And I'm going to go to my luminance next. And now when I'm using my luminance sliders, I like to just slide the slider up and down like that with the different colours. It just shows me where I'm at with regard to the colours in the image. So I can see there's quite a lot of yellows on the ground, so I'm going to take them down, okay? Same with the greens. Now this is kind of counterintuitive because I'll be actually brightening up those yellows afterwards, but for the moment it works. I'm just going to desaturate it a small bit. I'm not a great man for really punchy colours in the woodland. I like nice subtle colours, okay? And I just took the yellows down towards the oranges a bit more. Alright, that's not looking too bad. Maybe up the shadows a touch. And yeah, that's not looking too bad at all. Okay, so that is our edit done in Lightroom. I'm going to now take it into Photoshop. So right click, go to edit in, and click edit in Adobe Photoshop, and it should open up here in Photoshop, which it does, thankfully. I'll just let you know this is my 5th time trying to record this tutorial. Between audio getting corrupted and audio not syncing, I'm hoping this is going to be the last run at it. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. The first thing I'm going to do in Photoshop, I'm going to consult my list. I actually made a little list because I'd forget otherwise. Okay, so I'm going to use a bit of dodging and burning. So you can if you look up here at this hand tool, you've got your dodge and your burn tool, okay? And basically what this does is it brushes in a bit of light into the image for us if you select the dodge. So dodging, you're brushing in a bit of light. Burning, you're reducing it. So I'm just selecting my midtones here, and I'm going to paint in. Now this is one method of dodging and burning, and I'm actually going to do curves adjustments next, and that in itself is effectively another method of dodging and burning, but I'll just show you this method very quickly. So I'm doing this quite fast. I would encourage you to take your time, okay? I'm just doing it fast, I don't want the video to drag on too long. But take your time, zoom in, paint in the areas neatly where you want the light to shine. Obviously don't paint in the areas where you don't want the light to be seen. You want to paint the areas where you want your eye drawn to, okay? I like this kind of sapling fern here. Alright. Just painted a small bit of light. Okay, next we're going to work on our curves adjustments. So if you want to go to layer, adjustment layer and select curves, okay, click OK. You can also just go up here to adjustments panel and click curves there. Now the way a curves adjustment works is it ranges from darks to lights, so from left to right, darks to lights, okay? As you can see, there's quite a lot of dark areas in this image, so I usually select this tool up here, which is the selective image tool. So it basically will darken the areas that you select in the image, or the areas that also have the same tonal range as the one in the image you're selecting, as the point of the image you're selecting, I should say. So as you can see, I'm raising that, I'm darkening. If you look up here at my S curve, okay, it's adding a control point to the dark areas. Alright, you can add control points the whole way up along these here, and it'll just help keep the balance of the image. But just for now, I'm just going to add a control point here. I'm just going to reduce this small bit. Okay, now what it's done is it's darkened the image, it's darkened the midtones in the image, okay, and it's added a white mask. So any adjustment you make in Photoshop, it'll always add a white layer mask like that. And basically what that is it's covering the while still showing the adjustment you've made, it's also covering the layer underneath. So if I turn off that layer, you can see this was the layer that was underneath it. If I turn it back on again, okay, there's the effect. Now the best way I can think of explaining layer masks is if you take a white sheet of paper and you shade this paper with pencil, and then think of the shaded part of the paper is the layer mask, so what you shaded with the pencil. If you come along then with your rubber and you begin to rub out the pencil, you're rubbing out the layer mask and you're revealing what's underneath it, okay? And I'll explain that now with regard to this. So think about what I just said. So I'm going to have a white layer mask. I'm going to select B on my keyboard for the brush tool. Down here you select your foreground color. So because we have a white mask, we're going to select a black foreground color, and this black foreground color now is essentially our rubber, what I was talking about, okay? And then you brush out the effect of the curves adjustment. So now what I'm doing is I'm revealing the layer that's underneath my curve adjustment, okay? And this is a very powerful tool. I'm a big fan of selective adjustments. I don't do a whole lot of global adjustments aside from color balance and stuff. I'm a big fan of selective adjustments, and this is an extremely powerful way to do selective adjustments in Photoshop and really edit the areas where you just want the viewer to see and get rid of all those distracting areas, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. So I low opacity and just build it up gradually. Keep going back over it and it will build it up itself. Okay, now I've darkened the backgrounds because I don't want the eye drawn back there. I've spoken about that already. Okay, if I toggle this on and off, you'll see I've darkened the background, but I've maintained the light on the trees. Okay, and that is quite a powerful tool in itself. I'm actually going to darken these areas. Okay, so that's my curves adjustment completed. Okay, I'm actually going to brush a bit more light into this tree here. Okay, perfect. You can do the same thing with a levels adjustment. So if I bring my level slider and I want to darken it again, or if I want to brighten it, so I want to brighten the image like that, okay? Now what I'm going to do actually here is I want to darken the ground there a small bit. So as you can see, you're kind of brightening and darkening. But I want to darken the ground. Now that's too grungy looking. That's fair enough. But what we can do is hit Control or Command I, and you've now inverted the mask. So we've put a black mask over this levels layer. Okay, and if I get a white brush this time, I can brush in the areas that I want to darken there in the ground. So the areas that the levels was affecting. Okay. Now I can also reduce the opacity of that, just to make it a bit more natural and not as contrasting. So I'm reducing the opacity of this layer here. Okay, so that's the layer. So this is what we started with. We applied our curves adjustment, and then we had a slight change with our levels here, just to darken the ground itself. Okay, we're not looking too bad. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Dodge and Burn panel here on Raya Pro. So if you want to do this, if you don't have Raya Pro, just go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. Okay, that's your Orton Effect. But I just have it done here in a quick panel. So I'm going to select my Orton Effect, so you can reduce the amount it's going to affect the pixels. Alright, and you could also select the range of the Orton, so how bright or how dark you want to make it. Now you'll be doing that through a curves adjustment as well. Okay, and click OK. Now, as you can see, it's softened the image. It's created this kind of a glow. Not to everyone's taste, I appreciate that, but we can reduce the opacity of that layer itself. Okay. Now, I want to retain the details in these trees here. Okay, I don't want them to be Ortoned off, so I'm going to put a white mask. So come down here to the mask symbol, press that. That'll put a white mask over my layer. Select B for brush. My foreground color, change it to black, and I can just brush back in the details in those trees there. Okay, so I've just brushed back in the details, so I've revealed the details that was underneath that Orton layer. Okay, the rest of it I can leave. I don't mind leaving it soft because it's the background. I want to create that separation. Okay, and just paint back in that tree a bit there. Very subtle, but it just creates that soft illusion of light. Okay, now we're nearly finished. The last thing I want to do is go to Filter, Sharpen and Unsharp Mask. And this is how I apply sharpening to my image. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna combine them all to one layer first. So Shift Control Alt or E, or Shift Command Option E if you're on a Mac. So that combines all these into one layer here. Go to Filter, Sharpen and Unsharp Mask, and basically you can dictate the amount of sharpening you want, really, but I find this is a much more natural way of sharpening than sharpening in Lightroom. For some reason, sharpening in Lightroom it causes this warming effect on the image on the Olympus RAW files. Anyway, I'm not sure about anything else, but yeah, there's my Unsharp Mask, just to bring out those details a bit more. Okay, make it a bit crisper. I'm actually going to go down to my Orton layer and see. This is the beauty of opacities. You can turn them up or down and just raise that a small bit more. Okay, add a bit more soft light to it. Alright, so sorry, just that's a little tip there as well, because that was underneath this layer. If I change opacity, it wasn't affecting it, so I just brought it up above it and it just affected it there now again. And I'm going to reduce the opacity. Perfect. So there you go, we've added that soft light. Okay, and yeah, that's my Photoshop edits done. So if I hit Control or S or Command S, save that, and when I save it, it automatically brings it back into Lightroom. So here we are. The last couple of things I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down to my HSL sliders, and I'm going to once again, oh, 1 minute to that. Okay, get the greens back. That was just my pen. Bring the greens back towards the yellows a bit. And I'm just going to I've actually got to de-vibrance it. Okay, don't want too much distracting colour and I'm going to raise the luminance in my yellows just to bring them out a bit more. I think this is close enough to what I had. We'll have a look now, we can compare them. Okay, so that's not looking too bad now at the moment. I added a small vignette. My whites, I can turn them down or up. The whites will just, I'm actually going to reduce them because I don't want it too overexposed. I'll create that soft light illusion. And another bit of warmth. And there you go. That is my final edit done. So if we look at the original one, yeah, close enough. I think we just had a bit of a tighter crop in the original one, but I actually prefer the wider crop in this just because it adds in a bit more. It adds in a bit more of the image. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to do in Photoshop. See this guy here? So actually, I'll go back into Photoshop again, and I'll zoom in on this guy here. So. And we'll clone him out, bit of a distraction. Okay, so if I hold, so this is my clone stamp tool, if I hold Alt, that selects the area I want to clone out of, and I'll do a very quick clone job here. I mean, it's right at the back of the image, so I'm not too concerned with being tidy. If this was somewhere more prominent, I would be using my content aware, but it really isn't that important back here. Okay, just clone it out a small bit, like that. Very quick job. Alright, and there you go. And that's our image done. Okay, now I won't go back in, I'll save it, but yeah, that's what we're looking like, and I think it's quite nice. I'm actually going to reduce the clarity a small bit as well, just to soften it a bit more, create this kind of a glow. But yeah, look, that is the tutorial finished. I hope you learned a thing or two there about masking and layers and kind of changing opacities and brushing out. Just remember to always use your curves and your masks and brush out the areas you don't want affected. And it's a really powerful way to do selective adjustments. Okay, so thanks very much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. Any feedback, please let me know. I'm by no means the perfect photo editor, so it'd be great to hear your thoughts. And until the next time, hope you stay safe, and I'll see you again.